Hi, this is Mr. Evans. This video is on intrapreneurship, and it's one of the methods that you need to know about ways an organisation can become more innovative. So innovation is the ability of an organisation to come up with new products and processes, that process being created. And intrapreneurship is one method that organisations can try to implement, try to create an intrapreneurial culture amongst their workforce. So what does that mean? Well, we can define intrapreneurship as the ability to apply entrepreneurial traits and characteristics in job roles other than running their own business. Okay, so an entrepreneur is somebody who takes risks in order to start up their own business, and they benefit from the rewards of that. An intrapreneur, on the other hand, can be anybody employed within any organisation. So it could be somebody employed within a bank, or employed within a software company, or it could be somebody, I quite like to think, myself as an entrepreneurial in some ways. I show some entrepreneurial characteristics, i.e. problem solving, etc. So even teachers and doctors and things like that, firemen and women, can demonstrate entrepreneurial skills and thinking. So just to remind you some of the skills that are associated with entrepreneurs, all skills that would be useful for any employee within an organisation to have. Okay, so the main difference between these are the entrepreneurial skills and characteristics. An entrepreneur uses these skills and characteristics in order to start their own business, whereas an intrapreneur can be anybody within a business who uses these skills in order to improve that business or organisation. So what are some of the ways in which organisations can encourage entrepreneurship? Well, implementing Kaizen would help to encourage entrepreneurship. Kaizen, the concept of continuous improvement, where workers are encouraged every day to put forward their ideas for how to improve the company. That encourages people to think creatively, to problem solve, etc. So it would be a good way to encourage entrepreneurship. Empowering employees so that they're able to make their own decisions comes alongside delayering and having flat hierarchies where there's very few managers and there's a lot more kind of employees who are encouraged to take risks and to make their own decisions. Companies that genuinely want to create an entrepreneurial spirit among their workforce need to embrace and even encourage risk-taking. I'm not talking about stupid risk-taking here, but celebrating risks that have paid off, and also when an employee takes a risk and it was a good idea but it doesn't work, let's celebrate the fact that they've taken that risk and make that celebration public and say, well, this didn't work, but it was a good attempt, it was a good idea, and we can refine the idea and it might work in the future. And just simple things like the design of offices. So there's a picture here in the bottom right hand corner of a Google office. And I visited the Google office in London once. I've got one at Tottenham Court Road, and it was absolutely fascinating to see how the building was designed, because there was lots of open spaces and these kind of comfortable chairs, and people would come and they would sit down, and I observed a couple of Google employees they introduced themselves to each other. They were talking about things that they were working on, and they just said that they would stay in touch. And I found that really interesting, how the design of the buildings that encourages these people from different teams to interact can lead to creativity and entrepreneurship. And that's kind of related to matrix structures, which is where rather than having a marketing team, a finance team, all in their kind of separate little bubbles, everybody works together, and you have representatives from finance, marketing, operations, all working on a project together. So there are different ways of encouraging entrepreneurship. So what are the benefits of entrepreneurship and encouraging your employees to become intrapreneurs? Well, it should improve the motivation of staff, which will have a positive effect on staff turnover. Organisations that have a reputation for being entrepreneurial, like Google and various other companies, tend to find it easier to recruit new staff because they're known as good employers. And it should just foster this culture of innovation and creativity, where sensible risk-taking is encouraged, and the organisation should feel the benefits of that. However, on the other hand, if you delayer the hierarchy, it becomes more difficult for managers to kind of stay in control and monitor what's going on. There's less managerial control. It can lead to possible inconsistency across an organisation, where one team is doing one thing and another team is doing another thing, and that confuses customers who interact with the organisation. And decision making can take a lot longer. So, if you're thinking about the sort of organisations that could successfully encourage intrapreneurship, you'd probably want your workforce to be relatively well qualified. Maybe it wouldn't work particularly well if you have got a lot of part-time staff, or kind of students who are working over their holidays but don't feel particularly engaged with the company. But I would say that an entrepreneurial strategy applied well could benefit any company.